Hi folks, it's Florida Man here again, and today we're beginning the exploration of one of the most beloved countries in diplomacy, the originator of the supposed international language of diplomacy, one of the most envied and favored nations by the diplomacy gods. France is one of the undeniable powerhouses of the classic diplomacy map, alongside Russia and Turkey. Out of all of these, although I don't think France is necessarily the strongest, I would argue that France is the most difficult to screw up. France is bordered by England, Italy, and Germany. However, both England and Germany are frequently more interested in working with France than in collaborating with each other. And Italy, although it is almost required to go after France at some point, lacks sufficient power with which to execute that plan on its own early on. The nature of the French position is strong enough that the only way to get eliminated quickly as France is for both England and Germany to commit to an attack, or for France to leave itself open to a betrayal by one of its neighbors through sheer negligence. Even if one of France's two western neighbors teams up with Italy, if France has the other neighbor in the French corner, I would expect France to win the war the majority of the time. Italy is too weak of an ally to take France down without a lot of help. Usually more help than one power is capable of providing on its own. Usually, Italian players are aware of their relative weakness next to France, and they can be persuaded to open east, which will give France years of time to settle the Western matters and prepare for a Mediterranean war. This tends to mean that only England and/or Germany will actually attack France in a meaningful way, and frequently neither of them will. So the French early game is not usually so much about figuring out how France will survive the struggles of 1901. Rather, the challenge for France is positioning to dominate the West and quickly sweep east. There are 5 major possibilities for French foreign relations that you're likely to encounter in 1901. First, you may get attacked by all 3 of your neighbors. If that happens, you're probably dead. That's how things are for any country attacked by all of its neighbors. Even though France and Turkey are 2 of the strongest defensive powers, being a strong defender really just means you have an extra season to try to talk hostile powers out of killing you. This really means being charming and trying to convey a compelling vision for how working with you would be better than killing you off. Bribe them with the prospect of gaining centers that are not yours. You could try selling England on a Western triple. You could try selling Germany on an invasion of England, and you can tell any of the attacking powers that they will not see a single center off of you. You'll throw them to the other attackers instead. France probably has a better chance of talking its way out of this kind of attack than most other powers, because it will take more than a season or 2 for France to really suffer significant damage from being under attack. Unlike England, whose prospects could legitimately be ruined in 1901, France will certainly remain a viable power after 1901, unless the French player makes unforced errors, plural. This leaves you in a position of relative strength for the crucial negotiations. If you do believe you're likely to come under attack by all of your neighbors at once, a decent defensive opening against this is Paris to Gascony, Marseille to Burgundy, Brest to mid-Atlantic Ocean. You might bounce in Burgundy, but the other 2 moves are guaranteed to succeed, and they should leave you in a position to defend all of your home centers and gain at least 1 build. Another decent opening is for Marseille to support Paris to Burgundy, along with Brest moving to mid-Atlantic Ocean or the Channel. These moves leave many possibilities open to France. If you land in Burgundy and the Channel, you can probably force Belgium as well as taking Spain. England won't be happy with France in the Channel, but with the right sweet words, you might be able to smooth that over, if England is the person you want to make amends with. The second possibility is that you may find yourself attacked by England and Germany. If that's the case, the response is the same as if you were being attacked by all 3 neighbors, except your leverage and likelihood of success are better. The third major possibility is that you have an ally in England. If that's the case, you will naturally go after Germany. However, you don't need to do so overtly right away. You can wait until 1902 to make any overt anti-German move. The very reasonable excuse you have is that England probably cannot or will not make any anti-German moves yet themselves, and you have no reason to make the first move, a move that would almost certainly be ineffectual in 1901 anyway. Being a fence-sitter for a little while can come with its rewards, if you can find your way to that position. Just remember not to sit on the fence beyond fall 1901, because the years in which you're being indecisive are years in which other people are taking decisive action against their neighbors, which shortens your window of time in which to pursue the victory. If you do want to make a show of good faith, just occupying Burgundy is frequently enough for 1901, since you can't do much more anyway, and it gives you the power to decide who gets Belgium. Another good idea if you want to go after Germany might be offering to give Munich to Italy. If Italy accepts and occupies Tyrolia and you have occupied Burgundy, you can support Italy in, and that will keep Italy off your back for years, because the Italian can be kept out of the Western Mediterranean region, at first by the offer of this support, and then, once Italy has Munich, it will not be a very defensible position for Italy unless at least 2 Italian units are devoted to that single center's defense, or Italy maintains French friendship. The fourth possibility is that your ally is Germany. If that's the case, needless to say, you'll want to go after England. Again, you do not need to do so overtly in 1901 if you want to wait for your ally to be able to contribute. You will be able to tell what Germany's intentions are from the 1901 German builds, since if Germany does not obtain a second fleet, Germany can't do anything meaningful against England. If you do want to make a move against England, a move to the Channel is a symbolic anti-English move, although it will be difficult to translate that into any tangible gain relative to England in 1901, unless you devote both the fleet and an army to it, and you get lucky with a convoy and get boots on the English island. The combination of moves is more worthwhile if you somehow convinced England to move Liverpool to Edinburgh or something along those lines, which would mean Wales would likely be undefended. If you and Germany are going after England, one of the strongest plays you can make to cripple England is getting Russia to open north, which should ensure England will lose Norway in 1902. Since Norway is the only center England can guarantee getting in 1901, that will put England in a literal corner, probably rendering it the smallest and weakest power on the map by the close of 1902. To make that happen, though, your negotiations with Russia should happen early in 1901, as soon as you've solidified your Western alliances. I should note here that I do think working with Germany tends to be a better option for France than working with England, although that's just an opinion. I think that once England is secure in their corner, the growth for England can be pretty impressive and quick, and frequently quicker than France might be comfortable with. The fifth major possibility is that, despite your best judgment, you've gotten pulled into a Western Triple Alliance. I say that should be despite your best judgment, because the only power that really benefits from a Western Triple beyond the first 2 years or so, the way it usually goes, tends to be England. The French position can benefit from the Western Triple if you play your cards right, but usually England will suddenly stab either you or Germany whenever it becomes safe for England to do so, frequently with no warning to either of you that England is stabbing the other. The only reasons for France to get into a Western Triple are if you feel completely confident that you will dominate the alliance, or if you know that England and Germany will attack you together otherwise. If you do get into this alliance, be aware of the probable end state of things. However, the main thing you need to do, if you believe this alliance is really happening, is to open to efficiently attack Italy. Ideally, you'll end up with a fleet in the south coast of Spain, and with Marseille empty. You might even consider opening with a move of Marseille to Piedmont, if you really believe this alliance is happening. It will either bounce with Italy, or you get a head start on attacking Italy. Either way is actually good. You might even discuss your plans with Austria and see if they're open to jumping on Venice with you. You can afford to be generous and offer to support them in. The only traditionally Italian center you really need is Tunis, and the critical thing otherwise is just making sure that no one else's fleets besides yours dominate the Mediterranean. And Austria can be a good ally in that. Regardless of who your early ally is, you should be communicating with the other powers early on, gathering intelligence and establishing ties of friendship and mutual support. Russia and Austria can provide you early and medium-term support against England, Germany, and/or Italy, respectively, as well as information about the intentions of your neighbors that they might be concealing. Turkey is also good for intelligence gathering, and you can hopefully exert a diplomatic influence over the Turkish builds, and convince him to focus primarily or completely on armies, and build very few or no fleets. If you can make an alliance in the West, keep Italy from attacking you using only your words, and exert your influence in the East, you will have accomplished your key goals for 1901 as France, and you'll be ready to become one of the predominant powers of the board in 1902. I hope you've enjoyed the first Basics of France video. If so, please like and subscribe. If you've played as France in the past, we here at Florida Man Diplomacy do enjoy reading other players' thoughts on the various powers, so please share your own analysis of the French position in the comments below. And I would like to briefly give a shout out to the people who are supporting the channel whose names now appear on screen. They've gone above and beyond, So I want to verbally thank my patrons, Alistair Campbell, David Walton, Teddy, and Rulin Trotter, along with the subtitle writers Perigel, Pompo de Pompom, and Splack. Please join me in thanking them in the comments below. And until next time, Florida Man, out.